Hello, welcome, Gemma Rose, the raw and real goddess, here in the Goddess Studio. So, self-management. When I talk about self-management, it's really creating the understanding around you being responsible for the thoughts that you're having, you being responsible for managing and maintaining those thoughts. Self-management is around you managing and being responsible for and managing and maintaining your emotions, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what you're doing, what you're not doing, what you're actioning and what you're not actioning. Self-management is it is essentially being there for yourself. Being there for yourself. Now, that may, of course, include reaching out and talking to others, communicating how you're feeling, what you're thinking, communicating your processes, what you're moving through to and with others. That will help you in the management and maintenance of your own mental health, emotional health, and your own holistic well-being, yeah? There is that level, though, that obviously requires you to be in that mode of self-management, because you're reaching out to those you know who can help you. Yeah? When you're not in those frames of minds of understanding that managing yourself is your responsibility, then you're more likely to be thinking negative thoughts and stay in that negative thought pattern longer. You are more likely to be in emotional distress and stay in the emotional distress much longer if you're not willing to consider the fact that you're responsible for managing your thoughts and your feelings. Yeah? So one of the best things that I teach my children, and I guess it's the simplest form, and it of course relates to everyone because we don't always need the hard journey. We don't always need to take the long road or the deep road to obtaining optimal well-being in our bodies, in our hearts, in our minds, in our souls. Yeah, sometimes we do really just want the simplest of ways. Yeah, to create a simple way, we are required to have recognition, to recognize when we are maybe going downhill a little, to recognize when our thoughts are bordering on a negative track, when our emotions are perhaps going into a plummet. Yeah. Now, of course, we always have this ebb and flow between, how, for lack of better ways of putting it, good and bad emotions, our negative and positive responses, thoughts, emotions, etc. And that's another conversation around allowing yourself to be in the flow of what is happening within your body, within your mind, etc. So we're not asking you to discount everything. We're asking in this moment of self-management to be in a space where you can recognize what's going on. Recognize the thoughts. Recognize the change in the thought patterns. Or recognize the change within your emotional being. Yeah, those changes may be physical, especially when it comes to the emotions. Yeah, that's the time where, you may be moving through your day and suddenly your energy plummets. That could be related to emotional distress coming in. Yeah, your thoughts, your emotions, being able to recognize the subtle changes before those massive changes take place, before you feel like you're in a space where you are stuck in negative thinking or stuck in the blame game, stuck in those cycles that are not constructive or conducive for anybody, for yourself or for those around you. So when we're talking about self-management and being able to recognize those subtle changes, we're just being aware of our bodies, being aware of our thoughts, being aware of our speech, being aware of what we're doing, and then being responsible for it. Yeah. So as I was saying, when we're talking with our kids and we're asking them to be able to just step into those spaces of being able to recognize when the changes are occurring, we're helping them to identify that precise moment, perhaps, when the can'ts come in to play. I can't do that. Yeah. And of course, when we're talking children, the I can't comes in a lot. Yeah. So when we begin to move into those thought patterns that perhaps lead us down the I can't road, being able to swap that language for something a little more constructive will help avert a negative mental pattern, will help divert a negative mental response, a negative thought pattern, thought response. Yeah. So recognizing that, when you're moving into that space of I can't, that is the moment that's on the precipice of which way you're going to go. You're going to be positive and constructive for yourself, or you're going to just go down that path of perhaps wallowing around in negative self-talk. So recognizing that and then giving a different language, something to swap that language for. So the I can't do that. We can swap that language out for something like, I haven't learnt to do that yet, but I will. Or, I'm still learning, I will get there. If I try every day, I will get there. It's just giving those negative thought responses something else that will actually begin to drive us back up and out of a negative thought pattern or a negative thought response to something. Yeah. So if we can help anyone and everyone identify the language that helps us spiral, the language that helps us plummet with negative thought patterns, because once they get hold, they're very hard to break. Yeah. So if we can help others identify the language around the thought patterns that serve to bring us down into a spiral, we can then teach them a different language, or what's the word I'm looking for? Alternative language that will keep us plateaued and or serve to lift us up and away from potential disaster of spiraling down into a negative thought pattern or thought response. Yeah. So we are obviously on that thought track and we're going to stay with that. So negative thought responses, negative thought patterns have their place. Okay, fine. Have their place. They do have their place. They are there to serve us with an opportunity to expand and grow beyond the process that we're experiencing. So beyond the cycle, beyond the pattern, beyond whatever it is that we're experiencing in the moment. Yeah. But unless you have the awareness and the courage to be self-managing, to be self-managing, to be self-maintaining, to be self-responsible, those thought patterns, those negative thought responses can weigh you down and keep you locked in to a struggle that really you don't need to be experiencing, that isn't going to be constructive. Redefining our language in ways that are serving to us, in ways that are positive, in ways that are constructive. That's what these mental patterns, mental negative thoughts are really at the end of the day encouraging us to do. No one, not us, not our parents, not our family, not spirit, not the universe, not the collective energy, no one wants to oppress us and keep us squashed down, locked into not being able to do the things that we want to do or choose to be or want to be. So even within that's an opportunity for you to recognize that you can flip your thoughts into a space that leads you out of being oppressed, out of being squashed down, out of resisting any growth. Yeah? I love, there's so many that come through the studio who, who speak words like, oh, so-and-so doesn't want me to do that. They don't want me to do it. I can't do it because they don't want me to do it, or I can't do it because somebody won't let me do it. And essentially it's a blame game of everybody else's fault but mine. And everybody is pushing me down and holding me back. It's not me. When I'm confronted with that thought pattern, that thought response, that negative way of thinking, I gently encourage deep breathing. Take a deep breath and let's just really feel into that. Is it really somebody else controlling you? Can you really, truly say that your control, what you do, what you think, what you say, who you be, is the responsibility of somebody else? And really, if you're going to be in honest spaces with yourself, you can't answer yes to that question. So that's when you get into that recognition, that taking that first step to recognizing that you are responsible, no matter who's telling you you can't. Yeah? You are responsible. When others are telling you you can't, you choose to listen or you choose to not listen. And it really comes down to what it is that you are telling yourself. What are you communicating to yourself? If you are continuing the dialogue, the inner dialogue of you can't, you can't, you can't, you are just replaying and feeding yourself with negative dialogue, negative energy. Yeah? Reframe it. Take a deep breath. And anywhere that anyone, including yourself, has told you that you can't, take a deep breath, breathe it out. Let's reframe it. Let's reframe it. I haven't learnt to do that yet, but I will. I'm on my way to doing that. I'm choosing to do that. I'm choosing to learn. I'm choosing to give it my best. Reframe the language, reframe the inner dialogue into something that actually supports you.